The torches flickered across the stone walls of Persepolis. The night was silent except for the soft wind moving through the marble halls. King Darius lay on his royal bed, his breath slow and heavy. Beside him stood Queen Atossa, daughter of Cyrus the Great. Her eyes were calm, but her heart was breaking. She held his hand as if she could keep the empire alive through his touch. The air smelled of oil and incense. Priests waited in silence, and servants stood with their heads down. Darius opened his eyes and whispered, "Do not let them destroy what we built." His voice was weak but full of meaning. Atossa nodded, but her lips could not move. Outside, the city of Persepolis slept under the silver light of the moon. When the king took his last breath, the torches shook. The great empire had lost its ruler, but Persia still had its queen. Welcome to Tales Left Behind. If you enjoy uncovering forgotten stories from history, full of power, love, and destiny, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Now, let's return to the ancient world, and the woman who shaped an empire. Many years before that night, in the valley of Pasargadae, a little girl ran through the royal gardens. Her laughter echoed between the pillars of her father's palace. She was Atossa, daughter of Cyrus the Great and Queen Atossa. She grew up surrounded by soldiers, builders, and wise men. Her father often lifted her onto his horse and told her stories about justice and courage. "A ruler must have a kind heart," he said, "but a strong hand." She never forgot his words. When Cyrus died in battle, Atossa stood beside her mother as the empire mourned. She was still young, but she already understood that every crown is heavy and every victory has a price. After Cyrus's death, the throne passed to Cambyses, Atossa's half-brother. He was brave but quick to anger, strong but full of doubt. Atossa married him, as was the custom of royal bloodlines, to keep the empire united. But the marriage brought her little peace. Cambyses was haunted by fear. He killed those who opposed him and trusted no one. When he went to Egypt to expand his rule, he left Persia full of unrest. Then came terrible news. Cambyses had died. Some said he fell by accident. Others said the gods had punished him. In that moment, Persia was without a king, and chaos followed. A man named Darius, a skilled soldier and clever strategist, took control. Many doubted him at first. He was not of royal blood. But when he married Atossa, daughter of Cyrus, the people accepted him. With that marriage, Atossa's influence returned to the heart of the empire. Life in the royal palace of Susa was full of whispers and politics. Atossa was no longer a young princess, but a wise and observant woman. She saw everything: the greed of nobles, the lies of servants, and the endless hunger for power. Darius trusted her more than anyone. When he went to war, she managed the court. When he planned new laws, she advised him in private. Her words carried more weight than any man's sword. People said that even the generals bowed to her wisdom. But Atossa wanted peace, not power. She knew that every war left scars, not only on land but also in hearts. When Darius began his great building projects, Atossa was always there. She watched Persepolis rise from the desert like a vision of gold and stone. She visited workers, spoke to architects, and made sure the queen's voice was heard in every corner of the empire. Darius often said, "This city will show the world what Persia is." And Atossa answered, "Then let it also show who we are inside." She wanted Persepolis to be more than a symbol of strength, to be a home for all the people under Persian rule. But peace never lasted long. From the west came news of rebellion in the Greek cities. Darius sent armies to fight, and the empire stretched its power across seas and mountains. Atossa watched the maps spread wider and wider, but she felt uneasy. "The Greeks are proud," she said to Darius. "They fight not for gold but for honor. That makes them dangerous." Darius smiled, confident in his power, but Atossa's words stayed with him. She had learned from her father that a ruler who underestimates his enemy risks everything. Years passed. Darius grew older. The empire reached its greatest size. From India to Egypt, from the Black Sea to the Persian Gulf, all paid tribute to the great king. But in the shadows of victory, enemies gathered. Atossa saw the worry in Darius's eyes. She knew he was tired, though he never admitted it. At night, she sat beside him in the gardens of Susa, listening to the sound of fountains and the quiet of the stars. "We built a great empire," Darius said one evening, "but can it survive without fear?" Atossa placed her hand on his and said softly, "It can survive with respect." He smiled at her wisdom. In that moment, he knew she understood the empire better than any man. When Darius fell ill, the palace grew silent. Messengers ran between Susa and Persepolis, carrying news of the king's condition. Atossa stayed by his side, refusing to sleep. She called her son Xerxes, the future king, to the royal bedchamber. "Your father built the empire with strength," she said, "but you must protect it with unity." Xerxes bowed, but Atossa saw the fire of pride in his eyes. She prayed that the flame would not burn the empire itself. After Darius's death, the great ceremonies began. The royal court moved to Persepolis, and Xerxes was crowned as king. The people celebrated and the nobles cheered, but Atossa's face remained calm. She had seen too many thrones, too many promises, too many betrayals. She stood behind her son as he sat upon the golden throne, her presence silent yet powerful. The world saw a new king, but those who knew the truth whispered that the real strength of Persia still stood beside him. In the years that followed, Atossa lived mostly in Susa, the warm city by the river. She spent her days writing letters, meeting governors, and caring for the poor. She became a symbol of justice, the living memory of Cyrus. Even as age touched her hair with silver, her mind remained sharp. When Xerxes prepared his great campaign against Greece, Atossa warned him. "Do not chase glory across the sea," she said. "The mountains of Persia are safer than the storms of the Aegean." But Xerxes, proud and young, did not listen. He wanted to finish what his father had started. Atossa watched him march away with his army, and for the first time, she felt truly alone. Years later, when news came that the Persian fleet had fallen at Salamis, Atossa closed her eyes. She had seen the rise and fall of kings, but this defeat cut deeper than any. She walked through the quiet halls of Persepolis, now filled with statues and memories. The walls still shone, but to her the light seemed dimmer. She thought of her father, Cyrus, who dreamed of peace among nations. She thought of Darius, who built cities that touched the sky. And she thought of Xerxes, who had tried to conquer the world and lost himself in the attempt. In her final years, Atossa withdrew from the court. She spent her time in the royal gardens, surrounded by trees she had planted decades earlier. Birds sang in the morning. The fountains whispered in the evening. Visitors said she often spoke to the air, as if talking to the past. One day, a young servant asked her, "My queen, do you ever regret the life you lived?" Atossa smiled gently. "Every crown is heavy," she said, "but I carried it for my people." Her voice was calm, her eyes full of distance. Empires rise and fall, but kindness remains. When Atossa died, the empire mourned. From Babylon to Sardis, from Egypt to Bactria, people lit torches in her memory. They said the queen, who had seen 3 kings and ruled beside 2, had gone to join her father among the stars. In Persepolis, her name was carved in stone beside the kings, a sign that even in a world of men, her strength had shaped history. Centuries passed. The palaces turned to dust, the walls fell, and the names of kings faded. But the story of Atossa survived. Her wisdom guided Persia through its golden age and left a legacy that reached far beyond her time. She was more than a queen. She was the voice of balance between power and mercy, the heart behind the crown, and the bridge between the world her father built and the world her son would inherit. The wind still moves through the ruins of Persepolis. When it touches the carved faces on the walls, it feels as if the queen is still there, watching, listening, guarding her empire. History remembers the kings who ruled, but it also remembers the woman who made them stronger. Thank you for watching Tales Left Behind. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and discover more forgotten stories of history.